It is currently, I don't even know, 5:33 in the morning, August 27th. I went for a doctor's appointment yesterday, and my midwives checked me, and I was 1 centimeter dilated, 50% effaced, and she was able to touch the baby's head. When I came home yesterday, I had quite a bit of spotting, most likely just from the cervical check. And then I started having contractions, very consistent contractions, anywhere from like 5 to 14 minutes. They were lasting about a minute, but there wasn't a real pattern to them. I went to bed at 11:30 and slept until 4:30. At 4:30 I woke up with a contraction, got up and went to the bathroom and decided to go back to bed, and then I have been having them every 10 minutes. So I don't know if it's the start of something or if my body is just reacting, but up until this point I've been able to sleep through everything. So I'm up, I'm having a cup of coffee, I'm trying to be very quiet because everybody is still asleep, and seeing what happens. So I don't know, something might happen today, or I might just, do nothing. So we will see. So it is now 9:50. My contractions did not go away for a good 4 hours. I had them consistently every 10 minutes. They were lasting anywhere from like a minute to a minute, 5 seconds. Excuse me. But they have now stalled. So the last hour I've not had anything happening. I actually sat on my birthing ball, and that helped alleviate a lot of the cramping and some of the pressure. I got the hiccups. And then they just kind of went away, and I've not experienced anything. So I did tell my husband that I do expect this to happen over the course of the next few days. I feel like I'm going to be slowly laboring over the next few days, slowly dilating and thinning out, because I feel like whenever labor hits, it will happen very quickly. So I think this is probably going to be what happens, is I'm going to have just different spells of these sessions of contracting, and then it will go away, and then whenever it's go time, it is like legit go time. So we will see if anything else changes today. It is 6:53 Sunday morning, August 28th. I kind of just stopped doing everything yesterday, and everything kind of stalled. I went to bed pretty early. I felt really tired, so I went to bed at like 8:45, and I was feeling pretty decent, just tired. And then I woke up this morning at 3:15 to what felt like this like pop, almost like a gas bubble or something, but like in my vagina. And then I immediately felt liquid. So I got up and went to the bathroom, and I had some bloody show. So I think part of my mucus plug. And then I decided I'm just gonna go back to bed. So I went back to bed, and about 20 minutes later I started having pretty intense contractions. And they're like legit real deal contractions. They started in my back, moved around to my stomach, and was tightening in my stomach. And they were coming about every 12 minutes. So I laid in bed. It didn't matter if I was on my left side, my right side, or on my back. They were still every 12 minutes, and they were so painful. I probably could have talked through them and everything, but way more intense than the contractions I have been experiencing. And so at around 6 o'clock, I decided I was going to go ahead and get up. So I got up, and I have been moving around since then, and I don't feel them as much. But around 6:35, I went to use the restroom just to go pee, and I sat down, and I had such an intense contraction that I just had to sit there and breathe through it. So I don't know. And then I just had another one. So I don't know if they're coming consistently. I need to time them. It is also very, today is supposed to storm. It is very cloudy outside. I'm looking at it now. So it is supposed to storm today. And I feel like the first day of my period, whenever it's just the cramps are so bad. That's how I feel right now, only they're not going away. Like the cramp is like I feel like I'm on my period, like the first day, that first heavy day. And then the other thing is that the baby has really kind of slowed down, not a lot of room in there to move around and stuff. So the last few days, the baby's not been super active. Right after I had that pop, the baby has like not stopped moving. It is like rolling everywhere. See? Okay. So I don't know, but I'm kind of feeling it today. I find I kind of have that feeling like it's gonna be today or tomorrow, and if it's not today, then I'm at least really starting it today. I felt like I was going to slow labor over the next few days, and then it was gonna come fast, but I'm kind of feeling today. So I hope so. It'd be really nice and cool if it happened today. But I did my nails the other day, and one of my dips came off, so I need to go take care of that real fast in case I do go into labor. At least my nails will look good. So that's the update for 6:57 a.m. August 29th. Okay, so it is 7:48 a.m. August the 28th. And I went ahead and contacted my midwives because I felt like every time I would get up, water would leak out, and I wasn't sure if I was just like peeing myself. Hang on a second. So I in my birth kit was a amniotic fluid, like a swab test. So they had me swab, and my water has broken. So they said to expect for things to be picked up, like start picking up by this afternoon. So we should have a baby in the next 24 hours. Super excited. Should be resting, but I'm doing laundry and I still haven't done my nails, so I've got to go do that. And I'm kind of just walking around. I don't want to get too stationary, so I want to make sure baby stays engaged. So it's happening. So baby boy is here. He arrives on August the 29th at 1:52 in the morning. He's so perfect. He's like beyond perfect. We call him Mr. Content because he doesn't fuss. He doesn't cry much. He's just super content and happy and just well-natured. He'll make a couple noises whenever he's trying to go to the bathroom or whenever he's hungry, but that is about all that he does. He's so good. He's so good, and he's so wonderful, and we're so thankful for him. Everybody really thought we were having a girl, so when baby came out boy, it was kind of a shocker because everyone really thought that we were having a girl. But anyway, so my intention was to have my birth filmed, and I was going to make a YouTube video composite of my home birth. I don't know how things happened the way that they did, but I didn't get any video and I got no pictures. So even with all of my other kids, I had pictures of like them at the hospital. As soon as I had them, I had pictures of them like with their umbilical cords still on, all these different things. I didn't even get those with this baby. So I don't know what happened. I guess we all just got consumed in the moments of actual labor and delivery, that it just didn't happen. So, and I didn't get my home birth at all that I wanted. So it was one of those, I kept saying this entire pregnancy, you plan these things out and things don't go according to plan, and that's just life. And that's exactly what happened. All of my plans that I had, it didn't come through, and we kind of went in the opposite direction. But I was pretty frustrated. I was very heartbroken. There's a part of me that still gets very emotional when I think about it, because I really wanted a home birth, and I just really wanted like very peaceful, tranquil, kind of serene experience with my family here, and that's not at all what happened. And I can't get too emotional about it, because it is what it is. The most important thing is that he's so healthy. Like, he is so healthy. I'm healthy. So that's what matters most. This is the first pregnancy that I did all of those extra things. I had never drank the red raspberry loose leaf tea. I had never eaten the dates throughout my pregnancy. I had never taken the uterine toner or the evening primrose oil. I'd never seen a chiropractor. So this pregnancy, I was really trying to do as holistic and natural as possible. I've had my kids unmedicated and natural, but I wanted more this time. I wanted it to be more of a just faith-based. Like, I prayed a lot, and which you should be doing that anyway, but what I'm saying is that throughout this pregnancy, I really tried to focus on like the way God made our body, and how God set this up for women to do, and that it's 100% doable. And and then I went into labor, and a lot of that stuff just kind of I lost a lot of focus. I lost a lot of focus, and so I lost a lot of strength, I guess, during my labor, and especially during my delivery, because it didn't go anything like my previous pregnancies, or my labor and deliveries with my previous 4 kids. So it was very different. But he's here and he's perfect. And so I will most definitely share my story with you guys. So it was Sunday morning, August 28th, whenever I woke up and realized that I might be starting labor. The reason I thought this was because I woke up to like 2 very small pops. Kind of felt like a gas bubble, and then I felt some moisture. So I went to the restroom, and I had started losing more of my mucus plug. I had a little bit of bloody show. I wasn't quite sure if it was like amniotic fluid that I was leaking, or if it was just a little bit of my mucus plug. So I really paid it no attention, and I went back to bed. I laid in bed, and about 20 minutes later, I had a very intense, strong contraction. And and it was like the real deal contraction. I mean, the contractions I had been having were real, but this one was way more intense. It started in my back and it moved around to tightening in my stomach. So I knew that it was an actual real labor pain. And 12 minutes later, I had another one of the same intensity. And this went on for about an hour. I switched positions from my right side to my back to my left side. And no matter what position I was in, I was having the contractions and they were still coming every 12 minutes. So at this point, I decided that I was just going to go ahead and get up and move around and start my day just in case this was the beginning of labor. In my mind, I'm thinking I need to get a little laundry done. I need to get up and so I was just thinking of all the different things that I needed to take care of. So I went ahead and got up. And what did I do that morning? It was around 5:30 that I decided to get up and move around. And I got up and I had some breakfast, and I did my Bible study. I read a little bit. And then I found myself on my birthing ball because I was having some contractions. Later on, closer to 8 o'clock, I decided to get a hold of my midwives because I was still having consistent contractions 12 minutes apart, and I was still leaking. So every time I would stand up, I would leak. And I wasn't sure if I was like peeing myself or if it was my water that was broken and it was like slowly leaking. So I got a hold of my midwives, and told them everything that was going on, and they said that it sounded like labor was starting, that it would be a good idea for me to go ahead and do the swab test, that you like pee on it, or you take a swab, and it will tell you if it'll change colors, if it is your amniotic, if it's your amniotic fluid, like if your water is broken. So I peed on it and it immediately turned black. So I sent the picture to my midwives knowing that that meant my water had broken. And they said the same thing. They were like, okay, your water has broken. Well, my water really hadn't broken like I'm used to where it was like a gush of water. It was more of a trickle. So there was still, the bag was still intact. I still had a lot of water. It was just slowly trickling. So they told me at that point that things would probably start picking up around the afternoon, and for me to keep them posted. So I was trying to let everyone sleep because I knew it was going to be a long day, but I did get a hold of my mom, and I just told her, I think today's the day. I can feel it. I have a feeling. And I had that feeling before I found out that my water had broken. I just felt like, okay, I feel like this is real. So it's going to happen today or it's going to happen tomorrow. And so I called my mom and let her know. And the reason my mom and I kind of rushed around a little bit is because we were worried about the snacks. Because the postpartum, like for labor and delivery, the midwives wanted high protein snacks and things like that here at the house. And normally I go very quick. So once my water breaks, it's a matter of like an hour or two and the baby is here. So, but I should have known because nothing really was very active at that point. But I went ahead and I got a hold of my mom, and so she went and got everything to labor here at the house. And then we kind of just hung out. Like we hung out for a while. I was having contractions, but they weren't real intense or anything. And then I started second guessing myself, like, am I actually in labor? Is this actual real labor? Or did I just make this all up in my head? Was the test wrong? Maybe the swab test was wrong and I read it, so I started going, just having all those doubts in my mind. And so I decided to take a nap about 11:30. And so I laid in here and I took a very short nap. It was less than an hour. And I woke up to a contraction. So I at that point, I ended up staying awake and not going back to sleep. After it was probably about 12:30. At which point, a little bit later, my midwives called and asked, what the progression was, if I had any new updates, and I told them not really, that I was feeling pretty good. Contractions were still coming pretty regularly, and they were intense, but they weren't getting any closer. They weren't getting any more intense, anything like that. So they told me that it would be a good idea to try nipple stimulation. So I got out my breast pump, and you guys, I've never done nipple stimulation during labor and delivery. I've never had to. But I did nipple stimulation with the breast pump, and it was so painful. Not only for my nipples, because, it's a pretty strong suction, and I hadn't had the baby yet, so they weren't acclimated to that. And the contractions were so extremely intense. So I did that for like 5 minutes. And the reason they wanted me to do that is because they wanted to see if it could push my contractions closer together. And it worked. It got my contractions to where they were very close together and extremely intense. They were coming about every minute to 2 minutes. And so I did that for probably 5 minutes, and then I stopped, and she checked back in on me, and she said, did they stay close together, or did they space back out? And I said, they space back out to about 2 minutes. So they're not a minute apart, but they're about 2 minutes. And she's like, okay, so this is good. This means that nipple stimulation is very effective for you. So she said, just try it again. And I tried it again, and I could only make it like 2 minutes before I was like, get it off of me, because it was so intense. So that helped kind of, get things moving along a little bit quicker. And so then they decided that it was probably time. It was like around 2 o'clock that they decided that they should probably go ahead and start making their way to my house, because they are an hour away. And whenever my first midwife got here, she checked me, and I was only dilated to a 2. Which I told my husband, I said, watch, I said, I'm probably only a 2. And I was only a 2. And she said I was still only 50% effaced. So I hadn't thinned out anymore, and I had only dilated 1 centimeter throughout the entire day. So I was like, that's okay. Sometimes I labor slow, but then deliver quickly. So she said, let's go ahead and try nipple stimulation again. So we were doing 10 on, 10 off. So I had to do nipple stimulation for 10 minutes and then take a 10-minute break, and then do nipple stimulation for 10 minutes and take a 10-minute break. And we did this for quite a while, hours actually. And at this point, I was in my bedroom. I was on my birthing ball, because the nipple stimulation causes such extreme contractions that they were very painful. And she was also giving me a couple herbal remedies between each nipple stimulation. I was getting an herbal remedy. It was stuff like blue cohosh and some other things. I'm not really sure what was in them, but I had to drink that. And then my other midwives got here, and they decided at that point, because the midwife checked me again before the other midwives got here, and I had progressed to a 3, but I was still 50% effaced, and she said, you're barely a 3. And whenever she was checking me, she would massage. She said, I'm going to massage and stretch as much as I can, that you can bear it, and try to, get that going. So she massaged me and stuff whenever she checked me. It was unpleasant, but it was one of those that I knew this is going to work. This is going to help everything progress faster than what it is right now. And then my other midwife showed up. I think it was probably around 5 or 6 when my other midwife showed up. At this point, you guys, I couldn't keep track of the time. I didn't know how much time had passed. I didn't know what time it was. My husband was on it, like he knows when everything happened. He was so supportive. He was rubbing my back. He was just sitting with me. He was giving me water. He was helping the midwives. He was doing whatever needed to be done. He was extremely supportive, and he knows everything. But I didn't really black out at this point. I kind of just lost track of time. And so I think it was around 5 or 6 when the other midwife showed up, and they showed up with my labor cocktail. So the labor cocktail was like cider, maybe like some kind of like sparkling cider, castor oil, some kind of herb, I don't even know, and maybe like orange juice or something, grape, I don't know. It is a labor cocktail. It actually was not bad, but I had to drink all of it, and I had to drink it all in 2 hours, and it was, I don't know how many ounces it was. It was a lot, like maybe 16 or 32 or something. I don't know. It was a lot. And it kind of made me nauseated because I was already nauseated earlier in the day. I'd already thrown up 3 times, which again is something I've not done during labor and delivery before, but this time I was nauseated and throwing up. And so then drinking the labor cocktail on my stomach that I was already nauseated just made me a little bit more nauseous. But I was just kept telling myself, don't throw this up. Like, you need to get this. This needs to be in your system to work to get this baby where we need to get. So my, the midwife who had got here first told me that because my water had broken at 3:15, then we had to be in active labor within 18 hours. In active labor, you're in active labor whenever you're at a 6. I was already concerned about this because I don't usually hang out at a 6, 7, 8, 9. That's usually, I blow through those centimeters. It's usually like 1 through 5 that I hang out at for the most time. And then when I get to like a 6, it's like 30 minutes, an hour later, I'm having a baby. So I was really concerned that I wasn't going to be in active labor by 9:15, I think. So at 9:15, I had to be in active labor. So they tried all of these different remedies to get me to progress a little bit quicker. Then I said, what is the workaround? There has to be a way. And she said, the only thing we can do is just not check you at 9:15 and then check you a couple hours later, but we have to keep an eye on this. And so I said, okay, because then you have to have delivered the baby within 24 hours of your water breaking. So I had until 3:15 the next morning. So even though my water was trickling, every time they checked me, they said they could still feel the sack of water. So it was trickling from up top. It probably broke up at the top and was trickling down. And so they decided that the next time that they checked me, that they were going to go ahead and break my water. So it was probably around, I don't know, 7 or 8 whenever they checked me, and I still was only at a 3. No, I'm take that back. I was at a 4. So I was at a 4. She broke my water, and it was a lot. Like, it was what I'm used to whenever my water breaks. It was a lot. She broke my water, and then after that, everything started to speed up, and everything started to get more intense. I had to really kind of breathe through some of my contractions and really focus. And then I said that I needed to go to the bathroom, which I knew was just the castor oil. I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. And my midwife was like, are you sure you have to go to the bathroom? I was like, well, I think that's what it is, but I mean, I can't promise anything because I felt like I needed to go to the bathroom before, and it was actually the baby crowning. So while I was sitting on the toilet, she came in and checked me, and then checked me again because she was like, you're at a 3. Well, my previous midwife said that I was at a 4. So, and they both had checked me, like double checked me. So they were both very confident in where I was at. So they were telling me the other day, whenever I had like my postpartum visit with them, like this is an anomaly. Like, we don't know what happened. We don't know how this happened. We don't know how you dilated and then your cervix started to close back up. Like, we don't know. But even though I was slowly dilating, I still was not thinning out. So they were, kind of concerned about that, but they were mostly concerned about the fact that I wasn't progressing quickly enough, and I was really getting close to that 18-hour mark. So they had me set in the bathtub, see if that would help, and it did. But because my midwife checked me on the toilet, it was past the 18-hour mark, and I was only at a 3. I was not at a 6 yet. So they had to have a serious conversation with me, and we had to make a very serious decision, which at that point, I just lost it. I just started crying, and I just lost it because I knew that my home birth dream was at this point faltering. And in my mind, I was sitting there thinking all of the different things that I could have done to have, like, what are all the different things that I could have done to where I could have had the home birth. And then I had that I've let everybody down, even though I know that that wasn't the case, but I was just sitting here thinking, I've let my husband down, I let my kids down, I let these midwives down, because I couldn't do what I had set out to do. And I've learned now that it's 100% okay to grieve your birth plan. Whenever you have something that you plan to do and you're not able to do it, that it's okay to grieve that. And so I find myself these last couple days, and I'm sure a lot of it's just hormones and stuff too, but grieving that birth plan and just feeling like I was a failure and I let so many people down who just thought that this was such an awesome thing to do, and it was going to be it was just a different experience, and it was going to be very natural and very peaceful and very personal, and we didn't get to do that. So my midwives had the conversation with me that I might want to transfer to the hospital, because if I didn't transfer to the hospital, I was also group B strep positive. I've never been group B strep positive at all in all of my pregnancies, and I was group B positive this pregnancy. So that was one of the concerns, was that my water had been broken for a while, and the longer that it was broken, the more susceptible the baby was to infection and sickness. So that was a concern. And so she told me that we could transfer to the hospital, and she was like, they could just give you a little bit of Pitocin and it will help get things moving along a little bit quicker, and hopefully you will progress very quickly and you can go ahead and have this baby. Because if I got to the 24-hour mark and I hadn't had the baby, because my water had already broken and because I was strep B positive, the hospital would require me to have a C-section. And that was something I was 100% not okay with doing. So I told him, I said, well, what happens if we just stay here a couple more hours, can we just stay here for a couple more hours and see if we can make it happen, and then drive to the hospital at 22 hours. And they said that their concern was that the hospital was an hour away, and then by the time I got checked in and stuff, I wouldn't have enough time to get the antibiotics for the group B strep. I wouldn't have enough time to get the Pitocin for the Pitocin to actually start working before the 24 hours, and then they were still going to take me C-section. So my husband, I made the decision at that point to call it and head to the hospital, because given the options, a C-section was not something at all that I was willing to do. So at midnight, we made our way to the hospital, which was an hour away. It was raining and storming at this time. And I don't remember the drive because I was having contractions, so I just was very quiet and breathed through all of them. They were all manageable to where I was able to breathe through them, but I didn't speak. I was quiet the entire drive. I kept my eyes closed the entire drive. Whenever we rolled into the hospital, my eyes were still closed and I was still breathing. She was trying to talk to me and I was giving hand signals because the contractions were intense. And they finally get me into a room. So we arrived at the hospital at like 12:55 a.m. I believe it's like 12:55 a.m. Got to the hospital. They got me into the room. She checked me, and I was at 3. And I just started crying again because I was like, I don't understand why this is not working. I don't understand. The doctor came in and he talked to me, and even though I was at a 3, he had to stop talking to me a few times while he was there because I was having a contraction. And he finally just said, I don't see the point in giving you Pitocin because it's just going to make your contractions more intense, and your contractions are already very intense. And he could see him on the monitor and everything, which I was actually very thankful for because I've been induced with 2 of my boys and I had to have Pitocin, and it sucks. Like, it just sucks. It's like, I try to tell every woman, like, stay away from it. It's horrible. So they went ahead and got the IV in me. It wasn't hooked up to a bag of anything. They just got the needle in. Didn't have anything. And my contractions started coming even more intense. And my husband, if I was looking at my husband and my husband was talking to me, I was able to focus enough to breathe through the contraction. But shortly after, I was not. When I say shortly after, I mean like 10 minutes later, I could not focus. I could not breathe through them. I started moaning a lot. You could definitely tell I was in an extreme amount of pain. And I looked at my husband and I said, I don't think I can do this. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to have an epidural. I've never had one before, but I was like, I'm going to have an epidural because I can't do this. What I didn't realize was that I was in transition. My husband knew I was in transition because he's watched me do this 5 times. And he knew all the signals. He knew when my body started to shake, when I started to like grip onto the bed, when I couldn't focus on him anymore, and whenever I couldn't breathe. Like, he knew I was in transition. I didn't know I was in transition because I was so lost in my mind that the whole time I'm thinking, this is how painful it is, and I'm only at a 3. I can't do this. I can't do this for 7 more centimeters. I like, as slow as everything had been progressing, I knew I couldn't do it. And that's what I was meaning when I told him. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't think I can do it. I was meaning, I think I'm gonna have to get the epidural. And so then a very, very, very intense contraction hit, and I told the nurses, I was like, I'm feeling pushy. And of course they just checked me, and I'm at a 3, so they're like, okay. But the hospital was, and the staff was so amazing. So she came over and she checked me, and she says, oh wow, she said, yeah, definitely making progress. She said, you're at about an 8. So in a very, very short amount of time, I went from a 3 to an 8, like in minutes. And so she checked me, and it wasn't but 5 minutes later, I was like, I really feel like I feel the baby's head. And so they looked down there, and they were like, there's nothing down there. And I'm laying flat, like the bed is completely flat. And I've been used to it being inclined whenever I've delivered, but the bed was flat. And so they said they couldn't see anything. And I said, no, I can feel like I need to push. And so the nurse came over and checked me again. And she says, I think I need to have somebody else come in here and check you because I feel a void. And she told my midwife, she was like, I thought maybe I checked her wrong. You could tell she wasn't sure of herself because I was just at a 3. So they were going to have somebody else come in and check me, but there was no time for somebody else to check me. If somebody else did check me, I don't remember it because I literally kind of blacked out at this point. And I started screaming. And I'm a very quiet deliverer. I don't usually make noise. I might grunt a little bit. I might moan a little bit, but I never scream. I was screaming. I have to push. And then the contractions were hitting. I was going, baby, baby, because I couldn't say anything else. So I was just screaming, baby. And So I'm thinking that the bed's already dropped to where there's no foot, but my husband said the bed was like the full on bed still. So I'm like squeezing my knees together so that I don't deliver a baby that falls out onto the floor, because I'm thinking that the bed is gone. Um, but it wasn't. And also it's because I was really, really tensing up because the pain was so intense. And so my midwife came over and whispered in my ear, and she was like, if you feel like you need to push, bear down and push. It's okay to push a little bit. So I did. And my husband said he saw the baby's head go out and then suck back in because my legs were not spread. My legs, I was still like squishing my legs together. And I guess he said that the nurses were like, get her legs apart, like get her legs apart. I don't remember like any of this. So I guess that they spread my legs apart, and I reached down and grabbed myself because it felt like I was being ripped apart. And I always tell everyone, oh, labor's hard, delivering's easy. This was the opposite. Like, this was 100% the opposite. This delivery was, it was so, I don't even know of a word. It was just so painful. So I pushed, and while I was pushing, I was screaming, and I was screaming, it's burning. Y'all, I know about the ring of fire. Like, I get that. I've experienced a little bit of the ring of fire. This was nothing like the ring of fire. Like, I could feel burning from my inside out. And so I just pushed. And I think I pushed 3 times, and baby was here. And while I was sitting there, because my eyes are still closed, I can't see the baby or whatever, they pull him up and put him on me. And it was so sweet because we kept the baby's gender a secret. So we had no idea if it was a boy or a girl. And I thought it was so great because most of the time, they'll like announce like it's a boy or whatever. My husband whispered in my ear, he was like, it's a boy. And I just started crying. I was like, it's a boy. And he said, it's a boy. Which we were all kind of expecting a girl, so we were so surprised that it was a boy, and he's so perfect in so many ways. We call him Mr. Contentment because he's just so good. But the doctor arrived long enough to basically pull the cord around his neck, because it wasn't wrapped around his neck like he was choking on it, but it was like the traditional just wrapped, like once, so they had to pull it over. And everything. And he was like, yeah, I heard her screaming down the hall. And then I was like embarrassed, because I was like, oh my goodness. My surprisingly, he checked, and I did not tear at all. I did have just a few small abrasions. I have abrasions with every single one of the kids I've ever delivered. But he said everything looked great. They pulled out the placenta. I say pulled out. I delivered the placenta. They delayed cord clamping for a while. And then he massaged my stomach to try to help me deliver the placenta. And he said that he was having a little bit of a difficult time getting it out. And so it took about 5 minutes. That was about it. And then he said, can you go ahead and give me a good push? And so I pushed, and I was able to deliver the placenta. And they were all stunned because they said, this is the smallest placenta we've ever seen. Like, this is a very small placenta. And I didn't know really what that meant. But my midwife, and I saw it, and it was small. My husband's able to see the tree of life on it and stuff. So that was really kind of special. But they had told me, my midwife said, well, the reason it was probably small is because it was time for you to have the baby. And so the placenta then starts to get where it's going to start shutting down, and doesn't work the same way. And so it stops growing and everything, because it's like, okay, it's time to deliver the baby. We've, like, time's up, like it's time to go. So that's probably why my placenta was so small. But we had intentions of burying the placenta, and we didn't get to do that. But my midwife told me that yeah, that part of it was that I was experiencing the ring of fire. The reason my contractions were so intense was because I went from a 3 to a 10 in like 50 minutes. And so everything happened so fast. And the reason that I was screaming that it was burning was because my cervix was not thinned out whenever I delivered him. So uh, everything happened so fast and progressed so quickly, and I was ready to deliver, but my cervix didn't thin out. She said that I still had thick cervix. So he basically broke through my cervix as I was delivering him. It's supposed to not be there at all, and he plowed through it. And that's what that burning was. But he's here. Everything is good. He's good. He was 6 pounds, 15 ounces, 20.5 inches long, our biggest baby. I know everyone's like, that's so tiny, but was our biggest baby. I am healthy and good. I am just really sore this time. Normally I'm up the very next day and I'm like ready to go somewhere and do stuff. I'm still having a hard time. He's 5 days old and I'm still having a very difficult time with tenderness, just being sore. Postpartum contractions were more intense this time. I know they get more intense with each labor and delivery with each kid. So those are really intense. So I've been taking ibuprofen to try to help with that. And I'm just real tired and exhausted, and I just don't feel quite like myself yet, which is okay. But I'm extremely emotional. And a lot of it is just, I think I'm just, like I said, I'm grieving a little bit. I don't have like postpartum depression or anything like that. I'm just grieving my plan, and feeling quite like a failure. And that makes me feel like, it doesn't make me feel like a very good mom, because I felt like I could have given little one an opportunity to enter this world in such a more peaceful manner. And it didn't work out that way. So, and then like in hindsight, I think about it and I'm like, if we would have just stayed at the house, we would have had him at the house. We would have had him, because I had him at 1:52 and my cutoff was 3:15. So I still had an hour and a half before the 24-hour mark. But you don't know that, and I didn't want to take the chance of having a C-section. So we went ahead and we ended up having him before the 24-hour mark. And then that's another thing that just kind of is like, you're reminded in moments like this that you just are supposed to trust God. And I feel like I lost all of my focus. And I felt like I just lost my sight and gave into fear and doubt and worry. So it was an unmedicated natural birth, like all of my other ones. And so that was wonderful. It just wasn't a home birth. But I also don't want to get too stuck on that, because I'm just so thankful that he is here, and I already love him so much. Oh my goodness, I love him so much, and his siblings adore him, and his daddy is just smitten, and he's so healthy and he's so wonderful. And so tomorrow we have to take a little bit of a drive and go see a rabbi to get his circumcision done, because I am 100% pro circumcision, but after reading up on the vitamin K shot, I will not by any means give my child the vitamin K shot. So there are not many doctors around who will give a circumcision without a baby having the vitamin K. But there is a rabbi. So, which is always funny, because we always kind of joked about that whenever I was pregnant. Like, if it was a boy, we'll just have a rabbi and go get him circumcised on the 8th day. And lo and behold, that's exactly what we're doing. So he is gonna have that done tomorrow. And then he'll be good to go. He's doing really great. He poops a lot, he eats a lot, and he sleeps a lot, and he's just so great. He's just perfect. He's perfect. I know every mom says that about all of their kids, but he is just absolutely perfect, and he's such a wonderful addition to our family. I told my husband, I said, now that it's a boy, I can't even, I try to think about having a girl, and it just doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense to have had another baby girl. Like, it makes sense to have had a fourth boy. So we are highly blessed with 4 awesome boys and a beautiful girl. And that's kind of where we're at. So here's to our the birth of our little boy, and did not at all get to video it or take pictures, and I knew that's what I was gonna do, but I didn't get to do that, and that's okay, because I have a lot of other just memories that I'll hold very near and dear to my heart with this one, so it's okay that there were no pictures and no videos. So anyway, I will keep you updated, but that is how my home birth turned into a hospital birth story.